All right, so the first thing that we're going to do for progression for the single limb squat is going to be a double leg squat to start, but we're going to add a 5-second transition down. So I have the patient go 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. And then once they get to this position, they're going to hold 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3. And then they can come back up. And for the squat, we want to make sure that their feet are positioned so that their toes are either kind of in line with their knee or slightly open. And for their knees, we want to try to avoid any knee valgus. So trying to keep their knees more outward and in line with their toes, and keep a tight core, trying not to put too much stress on their back, and then sticking their butt back, sinking down into the squat, instead of having their knees come too far over the toes. Just because we're progressing, we don't want to put too much strain on the knees to start.
1.
So for the next progression for the single leg squat exercise, I'm going to have them do an eccentric step down. So to start, I'd have the patient step up onto the box, and we'll start with my right leg. So I'd be stepping up with the right, getting my balance, and then my left leg now hanging off of the box. We can start on a shorter box if we wanted to progress them up a little bit more, or if this was too much of a strain on their muscles to start. But for this, my left foot hanging off, I'm gonna have their toes pointed up so that my heel's pointing down. We don't want them to reach down with their toes. We want their leg to get fully down to the floor. So I'd try to keep squeezing my butt and coming down, tapping my heel on the floor, then coming up, still squeezing my butt so I maintain control and stability through the whole motion. And then we could have them swap, do the other side, same exact motion, trying to keep a stable knee so I'm not letting my knee wobble in or out. And so the positioning would just be their knee coming forward, not avoiding the wobble.
All right, here are 2 more progressions for the single leg squat. So we're gonna have the patient come about maybe a foot away from this bench right here. And then the knee is gonna be kind of right over the middle of the toes. You wanna have the body nice and straight. You're gonna balance on one leg, and you're gonna try to eccentrically control your body, coming all the way down to the mat. Hold for a second, and then without leaning too far forward, nice and tall, you're gonna use your quad and your glutes to push yourself up. And then the second one is, instead of you doing a hold at the very, very bottom, you're gonna try to come up as quick as you can. Not as quick as you can, but a quick tap and then come back up. So make sure your body is nice and tall and straight. Use your quads to come down, touch it, and then come right back up.
Ready? All right, so this is going to be the program for the ACL reconstruction 6 months prior for the return to sport program. So the first thing that we're going to have the athlete do is they're going to do a depth drop from a box, and what they're going to do is they're going to jump, land, and then the therapist would stand right in front of them, and they'd either point right or left, and they have to land, catch themselves, and then immediately jump as far as they can into a broad jump, either right or left, wherever they point. So what they do is they come down into it, they jump, and then they go left, jump as far as they can, land that way, really get that way, and then if they were going to go to the right, they do the same thing, drop off, and then jump as far as they can go. You want to make sure that their knees aren't coming in too much on the landing or on the jump, and that they really stay stabilizing themselves on each of the landings to control the landing. All right, so the second exercise that we're going to have the ACL reconstruction athlete do is going to be a broad jump into a change in direction broad jump. So we're going to have them jump, and then the therapist would stand in front of them, and they would either point behind them, forward, or side to side, depending on just to vary the directions for the jump, and they'll have to jump in that direction. So an example would be starting here, broad jump as far as they can, and then point to the left, go as far as they can. You want to try to really control the landing at the end, so watch the knee positioning, keeping the knees over toes, and this incorporates the varying directions by making it unexpected where the therapist is going to point.
All right, so this is the final stages for the recovery of the 22-year-old with the medial meniscal tear. So the first exercise I would do would just be skater jumps. So I would have them start on their right leg, and I would say, okay, jump as far as you can to your left leg, making sure we're working on a controlled landing on each leg, making sure we don't have any valgus or varus forces. So we're jumping onto our left, controlling the landing, and we're jumping back to the right, controlling the landing each way.
1.
All right, for the second exercise for this patient, I would just have them doing a 5-10-5 drill. So I'd start with the right hand down on this cone. The therapist would say, ready, go. They would turn to their right, touch this cone, funnel it as far as they can to this cone, and then sprint back through the middle. In this phase, just working on proper technique and not collapsing our knee down when we're making each change of direction, and just making sure we're learning how to accelerate and decelerate again. All right, so for the last exercise for this patient, I'm just gonna start five yards away from the would-be therapist. So then the therapist would say go, I would run up towards the therapist. At any point in time, the therapist could point either right, left, or back. So I'm gonna start running up. I'm gonna start breaking down right before I get to the therapist, and they could say right, left, or back, and I would have to cut in that direction. So just a demonstration, if somebody pointed this way or said this direction, I'd run up, break down, and turn and go as fast as I can this way through a cone on this side.